digital originals grant and it got rejected because I was already way into my project, I think. But so I have to find other ways to get it out there and share. Maybe next May to show what the artists were doing this year during lockdown. Right, so.
You're live.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Good evening in Montreal. Welcome to Expanding Our Interconnections with Jing Palad at the Second National Asian Heritage Symposium. Before we start, we want to acknowledge that many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcefully brought to the land where you are now. Or you are Indigenous and not Indigenous to the territory where you're now. Regardless of who you are, we pay respect and recognize the original custodians of the land where we are. Out of respect for the rights of Indigenous people, it's our collective responsibility to critically interrogate the colonial histories and present-day implications of this. The work that we do on behalf of Festival Accès is from the perspective of honoring, protecting, and sustaining this land and its people who were first on this territory. We strive to go beyond just acknowledging the land and weave in Indigenous knowledge, share principles, and invite you to move beyond an acknowledgement and into the doing. My name is Kiran Ambwani. I'm a photographer and board member of Festival Accès in Montreal, and I will be your moderator for this session. I would like to introduce you to Jing Palad of the Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society. Jing Palad is Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society's newly appointed Director of Marketing and Communications. Jing has co-organized Interconnected with Leticia Sanchez, who's the president of the Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society. And Interconnected is an exhibition project that was designed to bring together galleries, artists, and the public around works that celebrate Pan-Asian heritage. Exhibitions throughout Metro Vancouver were slated to open in month of this year, giving the public access to compelling works of art. However, in the wake of the COVID pandemic, as with other cultural events over the past 6 months, Interconnected needed to pivot its programming to an online format. In this presentation, Jing will discuss the Interconnected project model and important lessons that emerge from moving this extensive project online. She will also discuss the possibility of scaling Interconnected into a national collaborative project. Jing?
Thank you, Karen, for that generous introduction. Before I get into my talk, I'd also like to recognize that while everyone is zooming in from different locations, I'm joining this meeting on the traditional unceded territory of the Semiahmoo First Nations. And I also wish to acknowledge the broader territory of the Coast Salish people. I'm very grateful for being given the opportunity to speak with you today about the Interconnected project. My name is Jing Palad, and I'm a director at the Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society, or VAHMS for short. And I chair the team's marketing and communications efforts, as Karen had just mentioned. In Vancouver, VAHMS celebrates the Asian Heritage Month through the Exploration Festival. And next year, we will be celebrating the festival's 25th anniversary. So I have a screen to share with everyone to facilitate this talk. So. Okay. So my role in the Interconnected project was to support Leticia Sanchez, VAHMS president, in the execution of her vision. I joined the organizing team at a slightly later stage, as I became a member of the board only at the beginning of this year. This means that the ideas around the foundation of Interconnected are largely credited to Leticia. My role, however, broadened when we pivoted the project due to the spread of COVID-19. Then I organized the project's reformatting to an online presentation. But I will talk more about this later on. In the meantime, I'd like to share with you key information about the Interconnected project. So what is the Interconnected project? Interconnected is a point-to-point exhibitions project, a part of the Exploration Festival of 2020, with the objective of creating connections amongst galleries and artists that feature works by artists in Canada that honor Asian culture and heritage. The idea was to have ongoing art exhibitions around Metro Vancouver during the months of April to May. We envisioned that during these months, the public will be able to explore the city through art. For the participating galleries, the exhibition was also designed to form new or reinforce connections between themselves and the art-going public. The project also endeavored to connect participating galleries and other cultural professionals with each other. More importantly, the project aims to emphasize the strength of our socio-cultural connections through art. It encourages our appreciation of art while embracing cultural differences. So how did we plan to achieve these aims or these goals? Interconnected was a multi-part or multifaceted project. First of all, we have an opening event presentation. The opening ceremony of Exploration Festival 2020 was scheduled to take place on April 25th at the Fay and Milton Wong Experimental Theater at SFU Woodwards. At the ceremony, each participating gallery will have had the opportunity to present one or two pieces from their exhibition. This event would have served as an avenue to promote all exhibitions to attendees and members of the press covering the event. Of course, we had the art exhibitions around the city, as the art exhibitions are at the core of this project. This is the main interaction point between the public, the galleries, and the artists and the organization. We did also plan to have a networking event. A networking event was to take place at the SFU at Woodwards to bring together all participating cultural workers, galleries who committed to be part of the Interconnected project. This event was to introduce gallerists and other supporters to each other and potentially build connections amongst peers. And of course, an integral facet of the project is the mutual cross-promotions. VAHMS committed to promoting Interconnected in print, online, and radio formats. It budgeted for printing costs as well as collaborated with media partners to promote the project around Vancouver and BC. Correspondingly, all participating galleries were expected to promote the project through their respective channels and networks. Just to backtrack a little bit and tell you how this idea came about, Interconnected was a confluence of needs, opportunities, and temporary limitations, if you may. According to Leticia, she first came up with the idea because she had wanted to create a touring exhibition. However, finding a venue for art exhibitions had been a persistent challenge in the past. We all know how expensive it is to rent spaces for exhibitions here in Vancouver. And this problem hasn't been solved. She was also envisioning an exhibition of a much larger scale around the works of an Asian Canadian artist. However, due to time constraints, it was not possible for this artist to mount an exhibition of such a scale. Nonetheless, a number of galleries had expressed desire to be part of the Exploration Festival and therefore Leticia found an answer to both the need to present artworks that reflected back to Asian culture and heritage, as well as the need for space to do this with. Also, Semiahmoo Art Society's director, Uli Mashek, brought up the idea of designing a city map that showed all the participating galleries in Vancouver. Leticia and then Vice President Dong Yu-Soo had the idea of organizing art tours for the public to visit these participating galleries in Lower Mainland and Metro Vancouver. From all these ideas emerged what became as the Interconnected project. So what was the theme for the inaugural Interconnected project? As the project name suggests, the focus is on connection. So when approaching the theme, the project focused on our socio-cultural connections within the community and the impact of visual art on social and cultural exchanges. Through capturing the effect of Pan-Asian heritage in each artwork, Interconnected aims to expand our appreciation of art while embracing cultural differences. So This project is not only open to artists of Asian heritage, but also to artists whose work exhibit their relationship with Asian culture. On a related note, this initiative is in line with VAHMS values, which recognizes the importance of collaborative and mutually respectful relationship between Pan-Asian communities, Pan-Asian Canadian communities, and the Canadian society at large, which of course these communities are a part of. This inclusive nature of the project's theme ensures a wide avenue of support for Asian culture and heritage. But of course, it did not go without a hitch. We had issues that we encountered, and of course, with issues, you learn a few lessons. Key to this event was the cooperation of galleries, but the timing was quite unfortunate, because as there were about 4 months between project inception and event opening, many galleries did not have enough time to accommodate Interconnected in their programming. It is not unusual for galleries to have their programming set 12, 18 months ahead of time. So it would not have been possible for some galleries to participate this year. But as with Leticia, you turn unfortunate occasions into opportunities. So the galleries who were not able to participate in 2020 were asked if they would like to be part of Interconnected in 2021. As such, we already have committed galleries and organizations who are gearing up for the event next year. Another issue which will be familiar to many of us is human effort limitations. VAHMS is a small team, and as the Interconnected falls under the umbrella of Exploration Festival, this meant that the coordination of the overall festival would pull the majority of the team's effort. And understandably so. It's a more established event, it's a bigger event, so a lot of effort would have to go into that. So Interconnected needed to operate with a smaller team of 3. So the solution is in the definition, in the model of this event. We focus on the core features of the project as a team. As the organizing committee, which was initially Leticia, Esme McLaren, who's an artist collaborator and coordinator, and I focused on the framework of the project as efficiently as possible. The galleries had complete control of their individual exhibitions, and we focused on securing media partners and in-kind donors. We also focused a lot on establishing the complementary events, such as the networking events and also the opening presentations. Apart from our own promotional work, we also tapped into the overall Exploration Festival communications and aligned ourselves with the festival for additional exposure and support. So this is an interesting thing, because if we expand this and if your teams outside of Vancouver are interested in participating, this is an interesting tip, because putting an Interconnected event within the umbrella of your Asian Heritage Month projects or celebrations in your particular areas, you can share promotional resources, and that would alleviate a lot of the human effort. And another is you can maximize the promotional support of a much bigger event. And speaking of issues, let's talk about the COVID-19 impact. I like this meme, and I got it from shuinweb.com, because it really was what was happening when we were really gung-ho about planning this event, but we were receiving a lot of uncertainty about whether, to put up public events. And it really did throw a wrench into the plans, but of course, that was understandable. In mid-March of this year, it started becoming apparent that the project could not continue as designed. Due to restrictions on public gathering and other measures, interconnected partners could not ensure that the exhibitions that they had planned could still be presented. In addition, given the situation risks to everyone involved, the rest of the programming for this year's Exploration Festival was also being reevaluated. So as Exploration Festival began to pivot to online and implement a reduced programming scope, the Interconnected project followed. While there were partners who unfortunately had to close their operation during this period, others were able to reformat with us and in various ways. For example, Capulet Art Gallery's online exhibition used the online catalog format, but also produced artist talks which were accessible through their socials. This is actually very interesting because Capulet Art Gallery has immediately taken on the challenge to put all the artwork that they've assembled for the exhibition onto their online space. And I was very impressed because this was such a big exhibition. And I think when they moved to an online catalog, we found out there were over 25 artworks, and they had also planned talks, artist talks around it. So kudos to Capulet Art Gallery for immediately pivoting to online. Apart from that, Chrissy Chang's talk was also very interesting because not only did she talk about her work, but she also relayed that to some art history lesson. She talked about modernism and abstraction, and then how this parlayed into her work, and that basically short art history course is still on YouTube right now. And I think that's one of the gifts of this crisis is we're discovering ways where we can access information, and also they're staying there for a while, and we're garnering more resources, and also we're sharing more information to the art-going public. Next is the Vancouver Chinese Garden. The Vancouver Chinese Garden presented the Luminous Garden exhibition by creating a website to present Lam Wong and Glenn Lewis's garden photographs. They also included audio, which enriched this online exhibition a bit more. So I really had wanted to see this exhibition because it was designed to be in the context of the Sun Yat-sen Classical Garden. And you could just imagine how the photographs would play along with the environment. And unfortunately at that time, they had to close the garden. And but they also did this pivot quite quickly in that they created a website, and I think it's still there. It's luminousgarden.ca, and anyone can access it right now. If you can't come to Vancouver, this is actually something you can see online. You can see all the photographs, and also there's a bit of sound that accompany this, just to make sure that there's, you get a sense of the environment a little bit more. But we're still hopeful that we can see this in the actual space.
There's a quick comment for you, and that's from the VAHMS office that says that when it did eventually open in the garden, it was beautiful.
Oh yes, I'm gonna go.
And there's also another little comment by Leticia Sanchez, also from VAHMS, and she says, Interconnected was also coming from the desire for a more inclusive representation of Asian arts, as well as the open opportunities to showcase underrepresented artists who can be empowered by an enhanced visibility. And she says, Jing has been pivotal in the curating of the virtual Interconnected.
That's very kind, and thank you for that support. Yes, of course, those thoughts are important in the foundation of the event. Okay, let's move ahead. So Ken Allen Studios also created an entirely new website and hosted an online exhibition, while Semiyama Arts featured all the artists and their works on their website. And these are some of the artworks that we also featured on all our channels. So not only did they create an online environment for these artworks and tried as much as possible to represent the artists in the digital space, but we also supported that by making sure that we drive traffic, and we also find the right channels for this. And we put them on our socials, and we also created articles on our website about each of these exhibitions. But just the same, while this move to the virtual gave space to these artworks, it was still a more modest scale than what we had hoped for Interconnected's inaugural installation. But still, there were upsides. At the inception of the project, we could only extend this opportunity to galleries as we had challenges around securing spaces for artists who would like to exhibit their works. Now, since we moved the project online, the need for physical space was no longer a barrier. And Corinne, this was what we're talking about a while ago, is that it may be difficult for these traditional formats to be happening because of all these uncertainties, but the upside is we're finding new ways to present art, and we're finding new audiences for them as well. And so we featured artists, and their art on our website drove traffic to these pages and made space for their works on their social media channels, just like I was talking about before. And the project was also able to present works of art by artists who have continued to support VAHMS efforts in the past. And these are just some of them. And these are astounding works. So on the left, we could see Bert Monterrana's work. Bert Monterrana is a Filipino-Canadian artist who has since been living here in BC, in Vancouver. Danvik Briones, who's also been integral in helping VAHMS efforts in the past. His work is with this one with a boy climbing up the tree. Gloria King is a photographer. Her work shows beautiful scenery in Africa, South Africa. And of course, Esme Gaia McLaren, who's also been a member of the board at VAHMS. And she's been pivotal to the early organizing of Interconnected. So what's next? Let's take this beyond Vancouver. There is a challenge, I think, for everyone. Staging an event at this time where there is significant level of uncertainty. And I think that's not just, that's not just for Interconnected. And I think a lot of people organizing events right now feel this. It's hard to plan. It's no different for this year's Exploration Festival's 25th anniversary, as well as for Interconnected. However, if there is something that we learned from pivoting online, it is that there is opportunity in building connections virtually. And one of those is expanding this project beyond Vancouver to build more human connections that enable fruitful collaborations. There's also something to be said about assembling this project together at this time, at least the second installation. This means that we can all create something that is specific to what we're going through. We do not have to retrofit exhibitions, unlike the last time, but we can actually dream up ways to present art that can be creative and transcend our current limitations. For example, ideas like publishing a book and distributing it, or installing outdoor exhibitions have already bubbled up. We have established the framework of this project here in Vancouver and would very much like the opportunity to collaborate with galleries, communities, and artists beyond BC in featuring artworks that continue to present new narratives in art to the public and keep building connections between all of us working in the art sector. It is important to recognize that by spreading the works of art in relation to the Pan-Asian culture and heritage, we are contributing to ensuring that there's diversity of narratives in art. The theme of the second Interconnected Exhibitions project is expanding our interconnections. And we'd love to begin doing that by opening this project to a wider collaboration. So thank you for being part of this talk. If you have any questions in relation to this project, send it through the Q&A and I'll do my very best to answer them.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's a comment actually, and I think you just answered it, and it's from Yuli Maschayak.
Oh,
and she says, what does exploration plan for 2021? And I think you were just, well, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit more.
Oh, well, we're still at the beginning stage of Exploration 2021. It's going to be a milestone installation of the festival. We have yet to finalize a lot of the plans, but when we do, it's something that we'll communicate with the partners immediately. If Leticia is there, she might have some ideas.
Leticia is here, and Leticia has a comment as well, and she says visibility becomes a very important feature of the Interconnected project, and virtual Interconnected has also helped engage the public with the art presented, as well as the opportunity to view the art anytime. And Ken McAteer says,
Hi, Ken.
Sorry. Thanks, Jing. Great presentation and wonderful visuals.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions? You can send them in.
Does anyone have any ideas right now in their minds of something that they want to put to, I guess, the fore and want us to think about it? Today would be a good time. Not, you can also send me an email at Jing Palad, that's JINGPALAD @gmail.com. Karen, you were thinking about something. Is that something?
Oh, I was just going to say that this is a great initiative, and this is a great platform, like now at the symposium, for you to be sharing this project and and mentioning that you would like this to take on more of a national level presence. So I think that's great, because we have people from all over here that are present, and that might spark some ideas and reflections, and I hope people contact you to take this up further.
Yeah, and
to develop the idea further.
That's right. And I also think that whenever we do something in Asian Heritage Month, there sometimes is a misconception or an impression that we're only working with a group of Asian artists. And like I mentioned before, this is open to a lot of practicing artists who have been touched by Asian culture in their practices and are willing to form their work around it or include that in their work and have fascination around it. And it's something that we welcome as well.
Great. Any questions out there for Jing? Please send them in.
Wow, this went by really fast.
Oh, and we have lots of time. We have a good 20 minutes. If you want to share something else with us, do you have some other visuals you might want to share about your virtual shift that just took place?
Well, it's interesting. We still have a bunch of images that are coming out, but we've extended also in exploration, we've extended some of our online efforts into food and not to I guess step on Winnie's presentation later, but we also created kind of a campaign on food that we cook at home, Asian food that we cook at home, and we've been receiving submissions, heartwarming submissions, because people who create at home, we're not speaking about just specifically art, but also food, and they create food from mom's recipes, dad's recipes, and it's recalling back to Asian heritage, and we're discovering things that we actually want to recreate ourselves, and it's called #YummiestAsianFood. So that's ongoing, and if you have anything you like to share, because we were thinking everyone's at home most of the time nowadays, and everyone's cooking up a storm, And you know, when you're cooking and you feel a sense of accomplishment, you want to take a picture of that. And so we've been uploading pictures of people's food that they have created and posting it online. It's kind of a lighthearted campaign or lighthearted sharing of food online, because it's hard to do that now in actuality. Yeah.
Yeah, and food has always revolved around storytelling, right? Family histories and anecdotes, and
Yeah.
so it's very important to collect these histories and people's narratives, and what better way than around food?
Yeah, Leticia is raising her hand.
Okay, there's a comment, and they say you can send hashtag yummiest Asian food submissions to me, Jasper, at
Yes.
office.vams@gmail.com, and it's in the chat for those of you that are interested.
And I also wanted to, since I touched on, since also Leticia's touched on including Asian perspectives in art, and that continues to be an important facet of this interconnected project, is to make sure that we're providing we're not really providing because they really exist, but increasing a platform for new perspectives, new narratives in art, to make sure that, you know, we're not only guided by one aesthetic, for example, or one a singular way of experiencing art, but also we see art from different lenses, and we also experience it from different facets. And I think this is important because, especially nowadays, when we're trying to broaden our understanding of different cultures into a more nuanced perspective, not just, you know, the token inclusion, for example. I think what's important about Interconnected is it's bringing together different perspectives and making that a generous place of sharing, and actually it's more of an avenue to explore other people's heritage and culture, and what nicer way to do that than art, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, no questions yet? Just
No.
went through these.
So what are some of the challenges?
Yeah.
I know you touched on it a little bit, but maybe.
Yeah, well, I can expound on that a little bit more, because when it came to challenges, there, you know, as we all know, there's Zoom to work with. There's new technologies that we have to embrace, and a lot of our gallerists, our galleries, the partner galleries, have done that very successfully. But also for us, who's the organizing team, the way we work together, we have to tailor that around, you know, the limitation of technology. But it's also freeing, because for me, I have to go commute to our office in downtown Vancouver, and I don't live there. So now when we do our board meetings, it's virtual. So that's a good way. So like I say, there's there's pros and cons to this thing. Our galleries have been very proactive, at least those who came with us in the transition into the pivot. They've been very proactive and excited, and I think maybe also nervous about trying to move things onto the online format, which to me is a very generous thing to do, because, you know, you could always say, oh, we don't do that, you know, it's hard for us, we don't have a person to do that in our staff. But this project, they embraced it even in a new format, and I'm very thankful that we have partner galleries who came with us to the pivot of that. Our coordinator, Jasper Sloan Yip, has also been instrumental in this pivot. He was guiding the pivot really of Exploration Festival, and he made sure that exploration included interconnected in a seamless manner. So it's really the whole team working behind interconnected has been very integral to this pivot. And I think if we expand this to a more national collaboration, it would be so great a project to meet practitioners in other parts of Canada. And rest assured, you have the support of the team behind you when we go out and expand this to a more national scale.
I think this is a great and very inspiring model that you have created in Vancouver, where you have the galleries on board as well to help with the promotion and to provide this platform for Pan-Asian artists. It's wonderful, and I hope that other cities can also be inspired and find the funding and motivation to carry this project forward.
That's right. And I mentioned before about the timing of this thing, and I understand that galleries do tend to have their programming set beforehand, but if the galleries have already planned an exhibition around a particular artist from any Pan-Asian countries, and this exhibition will be happening in May, just let us know. We'll be happy to include that in the interconnected roster and support you as well. And it's going to be a really great collaboration. Not only will the artwork be known here in Vancouver, but we'll make sure that it gets exposure as well elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Were gallerists also willing to shift certain artists on their roster so that it fits, so that their exhibition fits for the month of May, say for next year? If they represent certain Asian artists, were they willing to reprogram or move things around so that the month of May could be devoted to showcasing more of their Asian artists?
I must say I haven't encountered that, because usually that's a tough calendar to just change. Mm-hmm. You know, in some occasions the artists need to be scheduled to fly to a certain city at a certain time, or the artworks are not ready by then. So I understand if that doesn't happen easily. I don't think I've encountered such a huge adjustment at this time. I don't know, has Leticia encountered something like that?
Well, I have a comment by Leticia. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back to maybe a couple of minutes earlier. And she says, the Interconnected project is not only limited to visual art, but it is also open to performance art, sculpture, film, photography, etc. And there's also another comment from May mm-hmm. Wong, and she says, have other galleries in BC been involved? For example, the Victoria Art Gallery already has a large profile in Asian art.
Thanks, May, for that really great question and good idea. Not for the inaugural installation of the Interconnected, but we'll make sure we contact them. Because that's really, yeah, I've been to the Victoria Art Gallery, and you're right, that's a good avenue to start as well, at least from Victoria's side.
So that could be very interesting. I'm just throwing this out there, but it could be very interesting if the different Asian cultural organizations put that little seed and have that conversation with gallerists to say, hey, how about you guys have Asian artists that you represent? How about we program in future years so that the month of May, the galleries could present those Asian artists. And as you mentioned, this map that you created, so that could be really fun for every city to have their month of May map, and it would be not only community centers and other venues where we typically host exhibitions because they're free versus renting a gallery space. But it could be fun to also have galleries that want to participate in Asian Heritage Month and have them on this map, and that way the visitor, the general public, has a lot more to visit. And as you said, like maybe a tour of galleries and, you know, or
Right,
gallery
yeah.
hopping or something.
Yes, it's really it's fundamental to VAHMS to interact with the public. We have projects in the past where we take the public around the city of Vancouver, and this is something that we do know how to do. And yes, that comes naturally for us to do. And the map suggestion by Uli is definitely something we want to do when this grows. And it's a helpful thing, but it's a helpful guide, but it's also an avenue for the public to learn about the existence of other galleries, right? This is a tangible thing that people can hang on to as a guide on what is in Vancouver or what is in other provinces or other cities that we can visit, that we can learn more about Asian culture and Asian heritage. And to me, that's a direct interaction that we hope to have.
Great. I have a few more comments for you. Leticia says, great presentation. Congratulations, Jing. And the invitation is open and we are open to start the conversation. That's great.
Yes, I think I need to stress that because Leticia said you have to stress it. But yes, hi Leticia. Yes, we'd like to, we're at this point that we really are hoping to get as many collaborations for this project as possible. There's so much momentum in this, and also there's so much opportunity, potential in accomplishing the goals that we set out for this. And we have great people working behind this. And it's something that we think will be not just a challenging collaboration, but as with any challenge, it'd be a fruitful collaboration for everyone because of the reach that we can potentially have.
Mm-hmm. And one more comment also from Leticia. She says, exactly, the idea is to have more representation of Pan-Asian art and artists during Asian Heritage Month. I think that was in response to my previous comment, which was about you seeing if the gallerists would want a program for the month of May and include artists on their program.
What about in your city? What kind of activity has been going on that you think will be similar to, or we can tap into? Is there something ongoing right now from what you see as a cultural worker?
That's being presented by Festival Accès?
Oh, not just.
Or you mean in general?
In general, yeah. Is there something?
Well, this thing just like struck to me because at Accès we don't have gallery exhibits. So I find this fascinating that this could be another avenue to explore. That's why I was asking so many questions about this, and that it could be an interesting avenue. We have most of our exhibits at the Maison La Couture, which are community, the library and cultural centers in the different neighborhoods. So there are a few neighborhoods that that are partners and where we exhibit every year. Mm-hmm. And that's really, I think it's been about access, so that it's open, it's free, it's open to the public. Like galleries, this was another question I have for you personally. And that's, do people shy away from galleries, like the general public? So having a gallery exhibit would attract a certain viewer public versus the types of exhibits we have here are very accessible to everyone because they're in cultural centers.
I can see what you mean by that. And I can see why that would be the case. But if that were the case, we do have cooperation with commercial galleries, for example, in the last Interconnected, but also community centers. So if a certain artist is more akin to one avenue towards another, I mean, we're not choosing one avenue or another. Really, the point is to include as many participants, or to expand this to as many willing and passionate groups to join in. So if an artist has contacts with a community center, let us know, or a gallery, a commercial gallery, then let us know. Let them know that you're interested in participating in this, and perhaps they can also request a meeting with us or collaborate with us and ask us what to do. Again, the email address for me is jingpalad, JINGPALAD @gmail.com. If Leticia wants her email to be sent out, Leticia, you want me to type in your email? You want to do that yourself?
Oh, there's one more comment for you, and that's from Lenore Lim, who
Oh,
says,
hi,
thank you
Lenore.
for a great presentation and looking forward to more talks from VAHMS, and best wishes.
Oh, great. Yes.
And Leticia has shared her email address.
Yes, so Leticia can also receive proposals or requests for more information about Interconnected. And, you know, if you have any ideas, shoot her or I an email and we'd love to hash it out with you.
Well, that's a great initiative.
Yeah. As I said, there's a great team behind this. Great team and a very enthusiastic team about promoting and making sure Asian artists have a platform and galleries have a platform.
Well, thank you for sharing so much about the COVID shift and the plan of action that has been taken on by Interconnected and Exploration. And I hope there'll be other cultural organizations present here that will connect and expand the network.
Yes, that is our hope as well. And we hope we can respond to those ideas fruitfully, and we'd love to hear about them. And I also would like to thank Access for this great opportunity to put us all together and also have this opportunity to speak to a great audience, a great number of people and in behalf of VAHMS. It's been a pleasure doing that. And again, thank you for this well-organized event. It's not easy organizing this, I'm sure. We organized a smaller scale, but I'm sure for a national symposium, there must have been challenges, and I appreciate all the hard work.
Oh, that's thanks to Farah and the festival team who were able to make the shift, make such a quick shift, and to be able to present the symposium anyways, you know, even if on a Zoom virtual platform.
That's right.
But hopefully the next one will be in person, wherever that might be, next symposium. So it would be fun to meet all of you in real, physically.
I know. We're hoping the same for Interconnected. Hopefully the next one would be more interactive. But yeah.
All right. Well, does anyone have any comments, questions before we wrap up here? Would you like to share something? Another screen share for a couple of minutes?
Let me see. I want to highlight. So this has been the main repository of the Interconnected online exhibitions and artist features that we had for this inaugural installation of Interconnected. If anyone wants to see how we transition that, they can find all the information here. Of course, this also leads to the respective galleries, exhibition sites, and also we put up artist features as well. And that's where you'll find the artists that we selected to be part of this for this year. So this is Dan Vicbrionis's page, for example, and his art is featured prominently here. Dan Vic has been a very instrumental artist helping out in VAHMS projects in the past as well. And so these artworks not only live here, but we also share them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and in a way, the artists themselves can share this as something that they can add to their host of promotions as well. So that's Dan Vick's work. This is Esme's work. So you can see there.
It's a beautiful website that you guys have.
Thank you. Yeah. Esme's work reflects back to some of the images here